We are Southeastern Ohio Sports News, and this is our first episode partnering with River City Sports Media. We're really grateful that these guys gave us the opportunity to do this and promote our show more. And so before we get started today with our first episode, on our show today we're going to have track, softball, and baseball. But I'll introduce everyone. I'm Pierce Kreischer. This is Griffin Allard. This is Easton Large. And this is Caden Wisman. We all go to school at South Webster. So as I said before, we're really excited to start doing this, and it's just a great thing that we're really thankful for that they let us do this. So I think with that, we're going to start, and I think Griffin's going to cover some track for us.
Yes, I'm going to cover the Portsmouth Invitational and the Waverly Invitational. The Portsmouth Invitational happened on April 11th. The female high point for that was Ella Hochstetler from Wheelersburg. We looked for the boys. We couldn't find the boys. I'm going to cover some of the winners of each of the events. It's just kind of boring to read all of the events and all the places. So for the 400-meter dash, the winner of that was Xander Mowry from Wheelersburg. He ran a 51.93. For the 800-meter dash, it was Seth Ham from Colgrove with a 2:03.28. For Rock Hill, for the 1,600-meter run, it was Nixon Snavely from Rock Hill. And second place was Landon Iyer and Braden Mantell. They always are all competing against each other for first. For the 3,200-meter run, it was Landon Iyer from White Oak. He ran a 9:43.16. For shot put, Ison Emnett from Berg threw 53.5 feet, which is really good. I think he was like 15 feet in front of everyone else, or second place, which is really impressive. For discus, it was another Wheelersburg kid, Cashton Atkins. He threw 151.1. For high jump, it was once again another Berg kid, Kenyon Evans. For high jump, it was 6'4", and for long jump, it was Wheelersburg again, Jack Dorr with 20'5". For the girls, there was only 4 girls from our area that placed first place, which was Ryan Purcell in the 3,200-meter run from Notre Dame. She ran a 12:27.34. Ella Hochstetler from Berg with shot put through 36.6, and for discus she threw 109.7, and she got first in both of those. For the high jump, Claire Newman from Northwest got first and with 4'10". That meet was a pretty big meet. There was a lot of good teams there, but a lot of impressive runners there. And
when Griffin was going through a lot of the boys' things, you heard the Berg name a lot. And when I looked at the results of the meet, I'm pretty sure I know Berg boys won the meet, but I think they won it by 20 or 30 some points. And so I look for them to probably win the SOC this year for track in one of the 2 divisions, because there's 2 divisions in SOC track. So I look for them to win one of the divisions. But yeah.
And then that covers the Portsmouth meet, and then we'll go into the Waverly Invitational, which happened April 15th. For the high point for the boys was Braden Mantell. He got first in the 800, the mile. Yeah, he got first in the 800 mile and the 2 mile. No, he got first in the mile and 2 mile and second 800, my bad. And then for the female high point, Marley Kreischer, she got first in the mile and second 800 and 2 mile. And I'm pretty sure she ran the
4x4.
Yeah. So for the first places of this meet was Landon Russell from Waverly. He got first in the 100-meter dash with an 11:69, and he got first in the 200-meter dash with a 23:30. For the 400-meter dash, Aiden Waddell from Valley got first with a 52:55. Gabe Clifton from Waverly got first in the 800-meter dash with a 2:01.90. For the high jump, Valley's Zach Witt jumped 6 foot. For discus, Aiden Armbruster from Northwest threw 137.11, which is really impressive, and he's going to be big competitor in SOCs and stuff. And for shot put, Dane Smith won with a 51.5. For the girls, other than Marley winning those events that we just said. The only other person to get first from our area was Paige O'Brien from Waverly. She got first in the 100, the 200, and long jump. In the 100-meter dash, she ran a 12.98. In the 200-meter dash, she ran a 27.17. And long jump was 16.1. Other than her and Marley, Unioto pretty much won every other event, all the relays and all the other running events. And then, so that's all I have. What runners and teams do you guys think is really impressive?
No, yeah, I think you said it pretty well too, with the two high point winners at the Waverly meet that were Marley and Braden, and then at the Portsmouth meet you said Ella Hotstetler won the girls high point there, and so those three girls are the girls I mainly look for to win at SOCs, but also like you said, Paige O'Brien. Last year at SOCs, I think we interviewed her actually on our show last year. And she won high point in one of the two divisions for SOC, I believe SOC 1. So those are a few girls, few people that I look. But what about you guys?
Yeah, and you said teams. Wheelersburg, you mentioned them. They pretty much dominated the Portsmouth Invitational. They won both the jumpings. They won the discus. They won the shot put. They won the 400-meter dash. So I think they, like Pierce said, they have a really good chance to win the SOC this year. And I also believe, going back into the other one, Braden Mantell, we've interviewed him before. I believe he made it to state last year.
He made it to state in cross country this year.
In cross country, so he's a really impressive runner. Probably going to go run in college, so I'd expect to see more out of him this season.
As well, I forgot the two brother and sisters from Notre Dame, Ryan and JJ Purcell, as well. They're really good as well. And Ryan, I know, also at the Portsmouth Invitational, Griffin talked about her son, but she ran really well there. I know she got first in the 3,200, and I think she did in the 16. I could be wrong about that too, but I know she runs them both, and she competes anytime she's out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good track teams around here, but none of you guys mentioned this guy because he's been hurt and stuff and not been able to run.
Cottle, yeah.
Peyton Cottle from Memphis, their 100-meter runner. He's really good and really impressive. We interviewed him on here last year at SFCs, but he got hurt. Was it his ankle, I think?
I don't know what he did, but I do know that he did run last night at Washington Courthouse. Washington Courthouse had a meet last night, and I think there were only two teams from our area there, Memphis and Berg, right? Yeah, but I did see something that Peyton Cottle did run, so that's good back to see.
And I believe Peyton Cottle also got first in both the 100 and 200 at Washington Courthouse. So he seems to be healthy. He seems to be running well. So he's probably going to win the SOC this year and has a good chance to make it to state as well.
Yeah. I think that Will can finish us with track if that's all you have.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, so I think now we're going to jump to softball, which I have, and then I did a little bit differently than they did because they have baseball, and I did the softball by myself, so I just did it by teams and conferences. So in the SOC 1, and for softball and baseball, no games were played Monday because of the bad storms we had. But my first team is Notre Dame. They're 12-0 currently. Last Saturday, they played a doubleheader versus Blazer and won 15-1. And they also played Winfield and won 5-3. On Monday, they played Green and won 15-0. Then on Wednesday, they beat East 29-0. In that East game on Wednesday, their pitchers Cadence O'Day and Lindsay Schaefer combined for a no-hitter. So congratulations to those two girls on throwing a no-hitter. East, they're 1-4 currently, lost to South Gallia 14-4 on Tuesday, and then Notre Dame, as I just said. And then on Thursday, they lost to Green 11-7 again. Clay, they're 7-6 currently. On Saturday, they played a doubleheader versus White Oak and won the first game 16-11 or 16-1 and 11-1 in the second. Wednesday, they lost to North Adams 6-5, and on Thursday, they beat South Gallia 13-0. Green, they're 4-8 currently. On Monday, they lost to Notre Dame 15-0, as I just said, and then on Wednesday, they beat New Boston 32-8, and then on Thursday, they won 11-7. New Boston, they're 0-7 currently. On Saturday, they lost to Manchester, and then on Tuesday, they lost to Eastern, and Wednesday, they lost to Green as well. So in the SOC 1 right now, Notre Dame is leading the conference, and they're undefeated in the conference and overall. So Green's having a really good start to their season. I look for them to make some noise down the road. In the SOC 2, Sims Valley, they're 10-1 currently. Wednesday, they beat Oak Hill. And then on Thursday, they beat Russell 12-8 in 8 innings, so a good win there for Sims Valley in a non-conference game. Northwest, they're 9-2 currently. Tuesday, they beat Oak Hill 11-0. Then on Wednesday, they beat Eastern 14-0. And Thursday, they beat Huntington as well. Eastern, they're 6-5 currently. On Tuesday, they beat New Boston. And then on Wednesday, they lost to Northwest. Then on Thursday, they beat Piketon 6-0. Oak Hill, they're 1-5. On Tuesday, they lost to Northwest 11-0. On Wednesday, they lost to Sims Valley 19-0. And then on Thursday, they beat Wellston. Western, they're 1-5. They only had one game this week, and that was on Wednesday versus South Gallia, and they ended up winning that one 12-2. South Gallia, they're 1-6 right now. On Tuesday, they beat East 14-4. On Wednesday, they lost to Western 12-2. And on Thursday, they played Clay, who they lost to 13-0. And in the SOC 2 right now, Sims Valley is leading the conference. They're 10-1 overall, and I'm pretty sure they're undefeated in the conference still, and they haven't played Northwest yet. So I look for that to be a good game here in the next few weeks when that happens. I think it happens next week, maybe. I think I have it down at the bottom. But in the Northwest is in second place in the SEC 2 as well. They're 9-2 currently overall. But I believe they're still undefeated in the conference as well. And the SEC 3, Berg is currently leading the conference. They're 8-0. They beat Mail 4-3 on Saturday. And then on Wednesday, they beat South Webster 19-0, and I'll talk about that game a little bit more here in a second. West, they're 5-4. They only had one game this week, and that came on Tuesday versus Southeastern, and they won that game. South Webster, they're 6-6 currently. On Saturday, they played a doubleheader versus River Valley and lost the first game 11-8, and then won the second game 16-2. Then on Tuesday, they played Valley at home and lost 8-2. Then on the very next night, they got beat 19-0 versus Berg, as I said a second ago. Valley, they're 5-7. On Tuesday, they took on South Webster, as I just said, and won 8-2. Then on Thursday night, they beat Memphis. Waverly, they're 4-7. On Wednesday, they beat Memphis and won 20-0. That was their only game this week because their game on Monday versus Berg got canceled because of the bad weather. As I said, Memphis, they're 1-10. They had two games this week. On Wednesday, they played Waverly and lost 20-7. Then on Thursday, they beat Valley and lost 11-3 as well. That concludes all the scores I have, but I'm going to highlight a few games. The first game I'm going to highlight is the Berg versus South Webster game. This game took place on Wednesday night at South Webster. Berg came out on top 19-0, as I said. But that score being very lopsided, but it was a highly anticipated game because South Webster upset Berg in the regional final last year to go to state. So Berg was ready to go from the start and get their revenge, and I think you could tell that. Berg was leading 2-0 after 3 innings, and it was really a good softball game. I was actually there watching this game, and then in the top of the fourth, things exploded for Berg with them scoring 15 runs in the top of the fourth. In this game, Berg had 15 hits to South Webster's 1, which came in the last inning. Jaden White has South Webster's only hit in the bottom of the fifth, as I said. Jaden also started in the circle for the Jeeps, and she went 3 2/3, gave up 9 hits, 9 runs, 4 earned, and 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. Addie Claxton came in to pitch for the rest of the game for the Jeeps. For Berg, 2 girls had 3 hits, and those were Miley, Gleam, and Smith. Gleam also had 5 RBIs in this game. Ava Estep, Maryland commit, had 3 RBIs in the game along with 2 hits as well. Carter pitched 4 innings for Berg, throwing a perfect game while she was pitching, and she also had 7 strikeouts. Mara came in to pitch after Carter and allowed the Jeeps only hit. So before I go into my next game, I'm going to highlight, what are your guys' initial thoughts on that game?
Well, obviously a rematch of last year's regional final game, a highly anticipated game, as you had mentioned. But I think Wheelersburg just came ready to play. Obviously, South Webster graduated about half their lineup last year, so that's a huge loss for them. But still, moving forward, I think Webster's going to use this as fuel to keep going, to be able to compete with the bigger teams. But still, Wheelersburg, obviously led by Maryland commit Ava Estep and North Carolina commit Katie Boggs. They've just got an all-around lineup that can just hit 1 through 9. So it's going to be tough for really any team to beat Wheelersburg in the state, to be honest. So. Also, the pitchers are really good, too, with Carter and Morrow. And they really have, I would say, 3 to 4 girls that could pitch at any time they needed, and they're just that deep. So I expect Berg to make a big run in the tournament, as always, but South Webster as well.
I know they're 6-6, but it's just a matter of if they hit or not, because Jaden White, she's always going to give you a decent performance on the mound, but you just never know what you're going to get out of their bats. So the next game I'm going to highlight is Oak Hill at Northwest. The game took place on Tuesday night, and Northwest came out with a win 11-0. In this game, Oak Hill had 4 hits to Northwest's 10. Journey started in the circle for the Lady Mohawks and allowed 4 hits and no runs through 4 innings, and then Carpenter came in to pitch after that for the Lady Oaks. For the Lady Oaks, for Northwest, for the Lady Oaks, they started McCarthy, who went 3 2/3 and allowed 10 hits, 11 runs, 6 earned, and 3 walks. Runyon, Carpenter, and South all led the Mohawks with 2 hits on the night. When I was looking at the stats for this game, Northwest only had 5 RBIs, and they scored 11 runs. So, I would say there was probably some things in the game that just didn't go Oak Hill's way and that were unlucky. But it did only say they had 1 error as well. So that 1 error could have been really costly, I would say. They probably scored 3 or 4 runs on that play just alone. But then some big games next week. As I said, Northwest and Sims Valley, that game, as I mentioned, the 2 top teams at the SOC2. That game next week will be really good on Monday. So what are your guys' thoughts going into that game?
Yeah, big SOC2 matchup. This could end up determining the conference in the long run. But I think I'm giving it to Northwest in this game. But Sims Valley. But don't be surprised if Northwest beats Sims Valley. But I think it'll be a very close game.
Yeah, and Northwest actually has dropped 1 game in the conference already as well earlier in the season. So they're 3-1 in the conference to Sims Valley's 3-0 in the conference.
I'm probably going to give this game to Sims Valley. They're a really impressive team, and I think they have what it takes to beat Northwest come Monday.
Yeah, I agree, but as Easton said, this game determines a lot, especially in the long run of things for the conference. But I will probably have to go with Sims Valley as well in this game too. Some other notable games that are happening on Monday are Waverly versus South Webster, Valley versus Berg, Clay versus Green, and then South Gallia versus Eastern. So, out of all the teams that are in the SEC that I was talking about, what are some teams or some games that surprised you guys that happened this week or in the past few days?
I would probably say the Webster and Berg softball game, just because I expected it to be a lot closer of a game. And I really thought that maybe it'd be like a 5 to 10 run game, but Berg would win, but it was completely the opposite.
Yeah, the game I'm looking at is probably, I don't really know. A lot of the games I feel like all probably went the way they thought. Considering Webster pretty much graduated all of their players last year. They're still a really good team, and I think they have some talent coming up. But when they graduate all your players, it's hard for a team to be really good again.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with what Griffin said there. And as he said when he just started talking too, that the games, they weren't as close this week, and that's what I noticed really too when I was reading or I was putting all the scores into my notes. I realized that there wasn't a ton of close games, especially in the conference. There may have been a few close games outside of the conference, but in the conference, really, there wasn't a ton of close games this week. So I expect more close games to come later in the season, especially as we get into tournament time too.
Yeah, the Western South Gallia game. Western ended up winning 12-2, but that's a SOC2 matchup. They're both 1-2 in the conference. Overall, Western is better, being 2-2. But I saw that game being a little closer because they're both right next to each other in the conference. But Western ended up taking that one 12-2.
Yeah, and I think that will conclude the softball portion of this. So I think now we'll jump to baseball. And I think Easton and Caden have that too for us. They split it up. So
Monday, as Pierce said, there were no games due to the weather.
And Easton has the SOC 2 and 3 too.
Caden's gonna start with the SOC 1. He has the 1, and I have the 2 and 3.
So Monday, as we know, there was no games because really bad weather. But then Tuesday, Green got a win versus Notre Dame 4-2. This game was 8 innings. John Knapp pitched really good this game. He pitched 6 innings and he didn't give up any runs. And then Lando Kimbler and Noah McNacken each had 2 hits, which was the main source of their runs. And this win moved them to 6-1 on the year. Also on Tuesday, Ironton St. Joe got a big win over New Boston, winning 17-1. They just got a really big win here by 16 runs, moving them to 1-3. On Wednesday, Notre Dame beat East 12-1. I couldn't find any stats on this game, but it wasn't a very close game, so they wouldn't really matter. But this win moved Notre Dame to 2-2. Also on Wednesday, Clay beat Ironton St. Joe 11-4. And Clay got the win here, I think, mainly because of their pitching. You know, Zane Ball started this game, and he only gave up 2 runs, and then Evan Ryder came in and closed it out as a freshman. And he's a really good player for being a freshman. He's surprised me this year. But he also only gave up 2 runs. And then Cade Munyon with 2 RBIs, along with Aiden Ball having 2 RBIs. Ironton St. Joe, you know, they didn't hit great this game. They only had 3 hits all game, and I think that's the main reason why they lost by 7. And then Green beat New Boston 20-0. Obviously, not a close game, but Riddick Jenkins, he was 3 for 3 this game, and he had 3 RBIs. Quincy Merrill, he pitched 3 innings, which I think the game was only 3 innings because of mercy rule. But he only gave up 1 hit, and then Thursday, Green also got another big win, 19-0 versus East. So that's all I got. That moves Green to 8-1 on the year.
Yeah, as we said, no games Monday once again. On Tuesday in the SOC2, the only game was White Oak taking down Western 16-1. Rhodes for White Oak with 3 RBIs on 1 hit and 2 walks. Applegate threw 5 innings, giving up 1 run with 7 strikeouts. In the SOC3 on Tuesday, South Webster beat West 14-2. South Webster put up an 8 spot in the first inning. West had some costly errors, and they never looked back. South Webster threw Benaiah Andrews and Tristan Belford in this game, which kind of surprised me with them playing Berg on Wednesday. But we'll speak more on that game here in a minute. The only SOC3 game on Tuesday was that one due to the weather on Monday. I guess teams didn't want to reschedule games. But the SOC2 on Wednesday, Northwest traveled to Beaver Eastern to play in a conference matchup and walked away with a 16-5 victory over the Eagles. Oak Hill, they played Sims Valley and got a 13-6 win. Lane Swingle, a senior shortstop for Oak Hill, ended the game with 3 hits and 3 RBIs. South Gallia in the SOC2 matchup was on the road to Western and won 13-11. Aiden Conwell of South Gallia with 4 hits and 5 RBIs, so a big game there for him. There were a lot of big conference matchups this week, I believe, in the SOC2 and 3 for both really softball and baseball. So in the SOC3, Waverly upset Memphis 11-3 to give them the boost they needed in the conference. Waverly hadn't been playing their best baseball, I don't feel like, until this game. They really kind of showed what they have against Memphis. The South Webster Wheelersburg game, one of the bigger games of the week. South Webster ended up winning 1-0. Jacob McGraw threw 7 innings, giving up no runs for South Webster, while Cooper Heimbach pitched 6 innings, giving up 4 hits and 1 run, which I believe was on a balk, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. South Webster had 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th inning, and their catcher, Sam Murphy, he got a base hit, or he got reached on the air. Shortstop missed the ground ball. He bobbled it, so he was on. Then their 9-hole came up, got a base hit through the first and second baseman, and so they had second and first, 2 outs. And then they brought in Braden Bernard, a pinch runner, and he got third on a passed ball. So now it was third and second, 2 outs still. And Berg's pitcher, Cooper Heimbach, he did balk, and that has how South Webster won in this game.
Yeah, and for Wheelersburg, a big thing for them this year has been not having sophomore Cameron Kahn due to an injury to his back. I believe he'll be out probably 4 more weeks, I believe. So that's big for them. He came in and started as a freshman last year, played third base. He can really play anywhere on the infield, so that's a huge loss for Wheelersburg there. Again on Wednesday, Valley beat West 3-0. Carson Powell of Valley threw 6 innings, giving up 1 hit and 13 strikeouts. Valley didn't hit too well in this game, I don't believe. I mean, 1 night before actually, South Webster had beat West 14-2. So that's a huge win for Valley. Well, not really a huge win, but a good win for them to give them a win in the conference. On Thursday in the SOC2, Oak Hill beat Wellston 5-2. Andy Meldick threw 7 innings, giving up 3 hits, 2 runs with 6 strikeouts. Oak Hill RBIs were from Zachariah, Barger, Williams, and Brown. Sims Valley won over Memphis 8-0 last night, I believe. I couldn't find any stats from this game. South Gallia lost to Clay 16-0. Clay were led by Ball and James, who each had 3 RBIs. In the SOC3, Wheelersburg lost to Jackson 4-1. Berg had bases loaded in a big spot but could not come through. They were no-hit through 4 innings when Brady Doss hit a solo home run to end the no-hitter and also give Wheelersburg a run. Liberty Union beat South Webster last night 6-4 at the Chillicothe VA. Farmer from Liberty Union had a huge game with 4 RBIs. Previews for games going into next week for the SOC2. Northwest, they play Wheelersburg, an SOC2 versus 3 matchup. I would expect Picklesheimer or Doss to start on the mound for Wheelersburg after Heimbach throwing against South Webster.
And that game is scheduled to happen tonight, I believe, right?
Yes. Northwest versus Sims Valley is on Monday, and then Northwest plays South Gallia next Wednesday, both in conference games. Northwest also plays South Webster next Thursday. Oak Hill versus Western next Monday, conference game. Sims Valley versus Western next Tuesday, a conference game. Eastern versus South Gallia next Monday. For the SOC3, some of these teams may also repeat because an SOC2 team could have played a 3-team. South Webster versus Waverly on Monday. South Webster versus Valley on Wednesday. Memphis versus Portsmouth West on Wednesday. Memphis versus Wheelersburg on... I don't know how I have Wheelersburg playing Wednesday twice. But I think the Memphis-Portsmouth West game is on Tuesday, actually, and then Wheelersburg on Wednesday. Valley versus Wheelersburg on Monday, and Waverly versus Portsmouth West on Wednesday. So that's all I have on baseball. What teams do you think played really well this week, picked up big wins?
Yeah, as Easton said, some big wins that I saw this week were Waverly over Memphis, 11-3, especially after Memphis beat South Webster, I think 6-1 last week, I believe, and Jackson Shoemaker threw a complete game in that game, but that happened last week, I believe. So Waverly getting the huge win over Memphis was really a big win. And the SOC, the way I see it right now, shaking up, things could go anyway. I don't think one team is ruled out of winning that conference, and I don't think one team has that conference locked up right now midway through the season. As you have Waverly, Memphis, South Webster, West, Waverly, or not Waverly, I said them, Valley, and you have Berg. So all those teams, I expect those teams when they play to be great games night in and night out. Valley beat West, as Easton said. So yeah, those are some teams that I saw that had picked up big wins this week, and that I expect to make some noise late in the season.
Something that I would say that kind of surprised me was the amount of runaway games that there were.
Yeah, especially in softball
SOC
and baseball.
1, 2, and 3. I mean, some of them. I mean, I didn't really see that many. Like, there's probably not 15, but there's probably 10 for softball and baseball.
Yeah, especially in SOC1 baseball. Green blew out, had like 2 or 3 blowout games this week, winning by over 15 runs.
And so in that conference, as I was talking in the SOC3, that conference isn't locked up. But in the SOC1, I mean, I think Green, it would be hard for me not to pick them to continue to win that conference.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Caden, do you have any teams you thought did well this week?
I was going to say that South Webster has some big conference games this week, facing Waverly on Monday and then Valley on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are two huge games for them, especially Valley. They won 2-0, I think. last week.
2-1.
2-1. So I mean, they played them close, and I could see that game going either way. And then Waverly beat Memphis 11-3.
And
So I could really see that game going either way, but I would have to favor Waverly.
Yeah, because last week Memphis, as Pierce mentioned, beat South Webster by 6-1, I believe. So that's going to be a few big games next week going forward. You got something?
No, just as Easton was saying, I expect good games to be played next week. Probably a little bit better than they were this week, I would say, in softball and baseball. But I think that will conclude our first show with River City Sports Media. We are Southeast Ohio Sports News. You guys can check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And then you guys can check out River City Sports Media, and that is at RCSM740. You can check them out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. So make sure to check out both of us on all of our platforms. But I think that will conclude our first show with River City Sports Media. So we just really appreciate them and letting them show our show on their website. So just once again, a huge thanks to them on letting us do our show. I think that will wrap up the first episode. And I'm Pierce.
I'm Griffin.
I'm Easton.
I'm Cade.
Have a good day, everyone.